Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you are watching this. Thank you for your interest in Early Partners. We are together truly building the foundation for a more equitable future and are so delighted to share with you a little bit of information about our magical little school. So first, so you know where we're headed, our aim long-term is to be a network of high-quality early learning centers across the city. We work in partnership with employers, so currently in partnership with the Windsor Court Hotel and the Hotel St. Vincent to provide priority enrollment for their employees. We're looking to build out this part of our model. So if you know folks and employers who are interested, please don't hesitate to reach out. But today, this presentation is really geared towards parents who are interested in pursuing early partners for their children. So before I get into the details of our program, I think it's important for us to really root ourselves in some common understandings about the importance of early childhood education. So first of all, we know that 90% of the brain is fully formed before a child ever steps foot into a kindergarten classroom. And this sets the foundation for all future learning. And certainly we know that the human brain is elastic and that long-term we can learn new things and we can grow and really forever throughout our lives. But it's a whole lot easier when we start with a strong foundation that is built when it's developmentally appropriate for the brain in early childhood. So what happens during this time in terms of quality is really critical if we're going to build that strong foundation. We also know, and this is, I'm sure, a newsflash to all of you watching this, that it's really hard to be a working parent in 2022. I founded this Early Partners, this school, knowing that these two things are true. The educator in me knows how unbelievably important the education side of all of this is because of that brain development. But I also understand as a working parent that it's often difficult to balance, and it's often difficult to find programs that are not in tension between what's best for kids in their education and what works for me as a working parent. And so in designing Early Partners, I really keep this in mind. These are my two kids, Edith and Andy. Right now in this picture, they're itty bitty, but now they're in second grade. And then Andy is actually at Early Partners with me in pre-K 4. So through all of this and every step of the way, and really every single day at Early Partners, I think about this question. Like, what do I want for my kids as the educator professional and as the mom, where these two kids really have my heart? What do I want as a parent? And this is what's true. We want a place where all children can thrive. And that is how we have moved forward through all of this process in designing Early Partners and how we think through each moment each day. Now, some of the things that I want as an educator are to have a uniquely researched back, like truly researched back program. So years ago, I met this guy, Junlei Lee, at a conference for early childhood educators. I was amazed by his knowledge and his just understanding of the field and human relationships. And he actually used to work with Mr. Rogers. I'm sure you've heard of him. So they're a little starstruck there as well. And he talked about Mr. Rogers having an academic, a researcher, who he would sort of run his program by every so often. So, hey, do you think that this is the right way to approach this for kids? Or does this make sense? Is this developmentally appropriate? And I thought this was a great idea. So I asked him if he would be that person for me and for Early Partners. And he very respectfully declined, saying that he didn't have time, unfortunately, because he devoted all of his time to his students at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. So my COVID silver lining was then to go to Harvard and make sure that I was one of those students who he could devote time to. So Dr. Junlei Lee, along with other of the sort of foremost researchers and practitioners in the field, really helped to build this place brick by brick, program by program, with special attention paid to the ways in which we relate as humans and through relationships, through social emotional learning with Dr. Stephanie Jones, and through early language and literacy development with Dr. Meredith Rowe. And these folks are still involved, and we bounce ideas off of each other, and I tell them how their research really plays out in practice. And some of them are even contributors to early partners as donors, which we're incredibly grateful for. As both an educator and a parent, I know that the people in the room really make the quality, and teachers are incredibly important. These are far more than babysitters. They balance both the education side and the caregiving side, and it's a really important and hard job. I used to teach and coach and lead in high schools, and my experience with early childhood educators is that if they're doing it well, it's actually just as nuanced and far more unrelenting, because there's no bell that rings that says that the learning time is over. It is just constantly teaching and learning and giving space for kids to really explore and understand the world that they're living in now. So our teachers are professional educators. Our lead teachers have at least a bachelor's degree. The person in this picture, Miss Abby, actually has her master's. They have at least 3 years of classroom experience. And I will say all of our teachers actually far exceed that bar for experience. Teachers are constantly collaborating with one another, and even the most highly skilled professional educator still has room to grow, and we know we're never done and we're never finished. So they receive ongoing professional development and individualized coaching as well. And we really prioritize showing up for teachers, because if they're taken care of and feel like they're being valued as professionals, then we know they're going to show up for kids. And we know that they're going to stick around, which is incredibly important in this field. When I had my daughter, who I said is now 7, as an infant, I would drop her off at a childcare center and sort of just hand her to a stranger because turnover was so bad, and then rush off to an 8:30 meeting and just like cross my fingers and hope for the best. And we know that that's so damaging for attachment and for overall development, and just so many things outside of it being stressful for parents is actually really, really not good for kids too. Speaking of kids, as an educator, I know that all of the research says the best way to facilitate and positive development for kids is to really get them talking and get them engaged and extend that engagement and those interactions between kids and adults, between kids and kids. And the best way to do this is through a child-led curriculum. So our program is Reggio inspired. Some of you may have heard of that. Some of you may be like, what the heck does that mean? What that really means is that we follow the lead of the child. Our teachers don't have an out-of-the-box curriculum. They think outside of the box, and they are really closely observing what excites and engages kids, so that they can be building on that through what shows up in centers, what's happening in small groups, long-term projects, and all of the ways that can keep kids excited about school. They're also closely observing and documenting how to best support the development of each individual child. And we're really thoughtful about ensuring that we're reaching all kids. Through this intentional play and exploration and long-term studies, we're really facilitating language development, social emotional learning, and conceptual understanding, especially for our bigger kids. And when you come on the tour today, or whenever you're going to be here, I'm sure you'll start to see more of that come to life, and I'm really excited for that. And here you can see this little desert scene. Last year, our honeysuckle class became just enamored by these bizarre giant plants that have these spiky things called the giant saguaro cactus. They would correct me if I didn't use the right term, and really started to explore what it is and how it functions in the ecosystem. what its relationship is to living other animals and other creatures in the ecosystem, and how all of those things are sort of intertwined in the desert. And this class in particular decided to really run with it and transform their classroom into a desert. And together as a class brainstormed all of the things that a human would need if they were going to survive in the desert. Parents brought in stuff. There's a huge, as you can see, a huge desert full of sand there, which was surprisingly joyful and not stressful at all, because our teachers have really amazing classroom systems and a lot of clarity around expectations. So as a parent, I'm also thinking about, like, where does my kid get to run free and be, and how much space is there in the facility to ensure that they are able to get out of the classroom and experience other things and really get their energy out. Because as we all know, coming home at the end of the day, at the end of a long work day, perhaps, we really need them to get their energy out during the day. So we have 3 big movement spaces that we're just thrilled about this year, having been co-located in a space last year with very little additional space for us to utilize. So first we have the Great Hall, which is named for Harry Potter's the Great Hall, and it's huge. It has cathedral ceilings. There's a ton of space for large movement, for large scale building. You can see that some of our friends didn't have room to complete a really long ramp in their classrooms, so they brought it into the Great Hall so that they had more space to try things out in some different elevations. We also utilize this for aftercare and for inclement weather days, either too much rain or way too hot. Both of those things are true. We have what we call the wild space. So if you pull us up on Google Maps, there's a ton of just sort of blank space and empty lots around us. Almost all of those are ours. So it's nearly an entire city block. And it's just an incredible luxury to be able to let kids run free and explore and really be able to just breathe at times when you just need a little bit more space. This is also a great space for us to utilize for after school activities. So Soccer Shots is with us after school, and we'll also be running some Saturday programming from our space too, which we're excited about. And then lastly, we have actually 3 planned play spaces that are outside. We have a toddler courtyard, which is just delightful, has a little crawler area and some planters, and you'll see all of this on the tour. We have a space that has a tricycle track and a small playground. And then lastly, we have very soon we will have a large playground that is a huge, like sort of playground size, city park playground size play structure with a big shaded structure as well. And we are waiting for that to be installed. It's just a little victim of supply chain issues. And then lastly, this sense of community, I think, is really important for me as a parent. Really wanting to find a place that reflects our family values, to be totally frank, a place where we are not tokenized as a family of color, and somewhere where we can really engage in different ways. So we have opportunities for parents to engage in civically. So here you can see one of our early partners, mom's giving a speech right after Leona Tate and Mayor Cantrell, which is pretty cool. We have a volunteer day. We have fundraisers that are a little fancier inside the firehouse, movie nights, play dates, story times, all kinds of good stuff. And here's some things that parents are saying. We've had incredible and positive feedback so far, and continue to actually get more and more as our program grows in age. And I will say that these quotes mean even more to me personally, knowing that we came out of the pandemic and had kids who had in many cases never actually been to school or interacted with another child. This is just an incredible testament to the work of our teacher. And last but not least, I'll share some just nuts and bolts of our program. And there's lots more, and I'm sure you'll have questions and we can answer all of those at the tour. So our hours are Monday through Friday. Our school day is from 8 to 3:30. We have early care from 7:30 to 8, and then aftercare for an additional fee from 3:30. That says AM, it should say PM. That's embarrassing. For an additional fee. And we actually have a magical carpool time between 8 and 8:15 where you can just pull up and we'll grab your kiddo out of the car and walk them in. And then in the afternoon from 3:15 to 3:30, same thing, you pull up on Annunciation and we magically your child will appear to you. Our tuition is $1,105 a month. We are able to provide financial aid on a case-by-case basis. We are also on the One app for B to 3 seats and are hoping to expand our city seats as well. So if your family would qualify for the Child Care Assistance Program, then I would certainly suggest that you go to the One app and get on our wait list there as well. We provide meals at additional cost, but we do participate in the free reduced meal sort of federal program. And I will say that our food has significantly improved over last year now that we've had a little bit more control over the menu. And for everyone, whether you opt in or out of the meal plan, snacks are provided, so you don't have to worry about those at home. And that is that. My friend Jude wants to thank you for listening to me ramble for the last 20 minutes, but please feel free to reach out and contact us if you have any additional questions. And we do hope to see you on a tour very soon. Thank you so much for coming. Bye-bye.